We'll call the meeting of the Diversion Board of Authority to order. We'll begin with the roll.
Mr. Vanyo.
Here.
Mrs. Sherling. Here. Mr. Thorstad.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Dr. Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Here.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Whalen.
Here.
Ms. Otto.
Here.
Even though we just took the roll, we have guests here today, and I would like to certainly acknowledge Colonel Kaprowski for attending, and some of his staff, Judy and Aaron. This is Colonel Kaprowski's last trip to Fargo. He will be headed to the Pentagon. This will be June, the end of the month, so we still got a few weeks left. But we certainly want to wish Colonel Kaprowski the best and everything, Godspeed, and thank you for not only your service to the country, but service to the St. Paul District and all the work that you've done with regard to the diversion project. And I think you deserve a round of applause. Any comments, Colonel?
We feel kind of bad because it's like the start of the marathon. You get to do the start, but you're not here for the
Yeah,
finish.
right. I'm going to miss all the good stuff. I would just like to say thank you for that, first of all, but it really has been my pleasure and in many ways my privilege to work with the people of this community. And I wish you good luck and all speed as you move forward with this project. I really wish I could be here to see it come to fruition, but I really have been happy to be a part of it and glad we got as far as we got.
Good. Thank you very much. And then I think what we'll do is we'll go around the room again to give introductions, even though we had the roll, just so that Colonel Calkins can maybe, when you speak your name, indicate your respective jurisdictions and all of that. But I want to welcome Colonel Calkins to the St. Paul District in a couple of weeks, obviously, but getting your feet wet, so to speak, in terms of coming here and attending these meetings. I read your bio. It's very impressive. One of the things that caught my attention was it seems as though we spent 8 years plus on this project, and I certainly know that I'm getting old and older. But sometimes we don't realize that until something strikes, and it's usually maybe some occurrence of our children or something like that. And I happen to note that you were commissioned from West Point in 1993. The week you were commissioned, my daughter had finished her first year at the Naval Academy and had climbed Herndon. So I'm quite sure we probably attended an Army-Navy game together. At that time, Army was beating Navy.
Yeah, that was back when Army could win a game.
Yeah, so it kind of not, you're certainly not old, but it certainly made me old to realize that she's 20 years from her graduation from the Naval Academy. So time does fly. We'll go around the room again just so that you can get acquainted, and I'll ask you to maybe say a few words. But Darrell Vanyo, Chair of the Diversion Authority.
Tim Mahoney, Mayor of Fargo.
Dave Pepcorn, Fargo City Commission.
Mike Williams, Fargo City Commission. You can tell I'm a short timer. I got my wife.
Mary Sherling, Cass County Commissioner.
Mike Thorstad, West Fargo City Commission.
Tom Dawson, I'm Chair of the Chamber's Business Task Force on Flood Control.
Bruce Spiller, CH2M.
I guess I'll go now. Sam Calkins, St. Paul District, as of June 30th, or it will be as of June 30th. But great pleasure to be here. A fascinating project, and it really is impressive to see how far it's come, and look forward to seeing it get started here, hopefully without too much delay.
Jack Kaprowski, outgoing commander.
Judy Desharnais, DPM from St. Paul.
Aaron Snyder, Chief Project Management, St. Paul.
Michael Bart, Engineering Construction, St. Paul.
Terry Williams, Project Management, Army Corps of Engineers. April Walker, City of Fargo Engineering.
Mark Fitness, City of Fargo Engineering.
Bob Zimmerman, City of Moorhead Engineering.
Brian Bird, Clay County Administrator.
Roger Olson, Cass County Joint Water Board.
Grant Whalen, Clay County Commissioner.
Nancy Otto, Moorhead City Council.
Keith Burnt, Cass County Commission, Cass County Administrator.
Heather Warden, Cass County
Okay, thank you. And I think since Mike has got his shirt on, I think we should give Mike a round of applause as well, for this will be his last meeting, right? Will it? Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Item number 2, approval of minutes.
Move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Order of agenda, anything to add or change? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Management report. Bruce?
Okay, I'll give a brief update of activities over the last month and what we're looking forward to in the next month. The May activities, we've been continuing work on developing the P3, both RFQ and RFP. So we had a transportation workshop early in May. We also advertised one flood control project. As we noted, I think at the last meeting, the Minnesota final EIS had been published. There was a short comment period. That comment period is closed. Minnesota DNR is reviewing those final comments ongoing right now. Draft permitting plan was submitted to the Diversion Authority, looking at all the permits going forward. Financial plan was released on May 26th. It was presented in a couple of meetings into the last board meeting here. And then there's been a number of informational meetings on the JPA and the PPA over the month. Earlier this week, on Tuesday, Wednesday, we had a P3 Industry Day here in Fargo. Got 150 attendees from all across the nation, and actually international firms came as well to attend. So a lot of good turnout, a lot of interest in the P3 project here. We had scheduled individual meetings with various firms or groups of firms and consortiums. We had 8 of those scheduled. So a lot of interest, a lot of good solid teams out there. We also allowed networking time in this session because we had a number of local contractors that also attended. So this was a good chance to meet the large firms that are going to be coming in and managing the delivery of the P3 portion of the work, to meet the local contractors to meet them and start forming some teams and alliances. So I think we had a lot of good interaction at that time as well. So we're going to continue industry outreach, but it was a large event here in Fargo, and a lot of good attendance on it, so we're very pleased with that. Corps was also there. It was a joint industry day with the Corps. They talked about the gated inlet structure that's going to be going out to bid later this year. They had a contracting officer there talking about how local businesses could bid on that and work with government contracting. So I thought well-rounded day between both the Diversion Authority and the Corps. Priorities coming up in later half of this month and first part of July is completion of the JPA approvals by member entities, moving towards the PPA approval and signing. There's going to be a number of activities next week. There's a trip with some of the authority members to Washington, D.C. There's a Infra-Americas conference, which is the largest P3 conference in the U.S. It's going to be in New York next week. Keith Burnt is going to be on one of the panels talking about the project. So be more exposure for the project to the P3 industry. And then there's also North Dakota Water Topics Overview Committee in Minot next week. So, very busy week. Not too many people are going to be left in Fargo. So, ongoing activities, give you a little update as the summer season, construction season rolls around. There's a lot of construction projects. So, continuing to work on the 4th Street North pump station, have some work on the box culvert, and then hoping to get that pump station operational. That's continuing. 2nd Street pump station, when you get, it's getting close to testing and startup, scheduled for next week. So that pump station is moving along. See the flood wall coming out and construction going along with that. 2nd Street flood wall on the south is starting. We've got footings complete. Underground utilities nearly complete. With the approval of the Mid-America deal, the contractor will have access to the site on the parking lot, and we'll start that work immediately. The 2nd Street flood control north, the contractors mobilized to the site, started pouring the first flood wall footing, so more activity there. So we've got a number of active contracts going on downtown, as anybody that's down can see. Demolitions, most of the above grade work is pretty well done, so the sites are being cleared, both on the Howard Johnson's and the Park East demolition. El Zagel Phase 2, inspection trench is essentially complete. Starting to install some of the infrastructure and preparation for the gate well. Mickelson Levee extension, we had to remove the trees before first part of June, just due to some environmental issues, and then we'll start on the home demolition and begin levee construction later this month. So that's what's going on. Terry, I don't know if you have a report this month or not.
Yeah, I'll highlight a couple of things. I think everybody's got the course handout, our monthly update, and so I'll just hit a few of the points on there. The diversion inlet control structure, final plans and specs, as it says there, were approved on the 19th of May, and we're still working towards construction and contract award for this fall. And then also the team has started design for the wild rice control structure, and that's going to be a couple of years in the works, but it's en route, or underway rather. Bruce talked about the Minnesota EIS. I think it's important to note that the EIS, when it was published, it did confirm our findings that this is the right project in the right place for this time. The next step is that determination of adequacy, and we are hoping that that'll be completed in July. Obviously, that's a Minnesota state process, so we don't control that. But third thing, in the permitting, permit applications have been submitted for both Minnesota and North Dakota in February. The Minnesota permit for the Southern Embankment won't be required for a couple of years yet, but we've submitted it nonetheless. And then the signed permit application for the inlet control structure was submitted to the North Dakota State Water Commission earlier in 19 May. With respect to the PPA, that's required for federal construction process to start, and we've worked that through both sponsors and up to USA's headquarters. Approval of that is in the works, and then we are still planning for and hoping for a PPA signing sometime in July. Subject to any questions, those are the ones I'd like to highlight. And the last thing that I'll point out there is item number 11. Colonel Calkins and I do change command on the 30th of June, so if you happen to be in St. Paul, more than welcome. And thanks again for having me be part of this.
Thank you very much. Maybe if, I don't want to put you on the spot, Colonel Calkins, but maybe if you might, I think a lot of people at the board received a bio, but for the audience and all that, maybe you could just give a couple of highlights of your career from West Point and leading up to now.
Sure. As the commissioner told the story better than I could, I graduated from West Point in 1993, so I've been in the Army about 23 years. I've been in the Washington, D.C. area for the past 4 years, worked in the Pentagon on the Joint Staff, and went to a year of the National War College, and I'm currently working at Army Cyber Command on a construction project for a big building that we're hoping to build in the next couple of years for Army Cyber Command. My family and I will be moving over the course of the next couple of weeks to St. Paul, actually to Woodbury, just outside of St. Paul, and we're looking forward to being part of this great, I was going to say this great state, but these great states, I guess, and
Yeah.
the Twin Cities and everything,
Yeah.
everything else that's going on.
Good.
I have a question for.
Go ahead.
So I see you were in San Luis Obispo going to
was,
school.
yeah.
Did you know that's named the happiest city in the United States? Did you agree?
Yeah, I did.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
I was
nice?
very happy to be there. I only got to spend a year there, but it was a great year.
Wonderful. Well, welcome aboard. Thanks.
Mike, are we going for that award too, or?
I think we should. We've won every other one. Let's go for it.
Okay, legal. Yep, okay.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Diversion Authority Board. I have a couple brief updates. No action is needed today. Just our normal update, there is no information or action pending on the litigation matter. The PPA, as has been previously mentioned, has been drafted. It's been approved by the City of Fargo. I would anticipate that at the next meeting of the Diversion Authority Board, that it would be approved by the Diversion Authority. At some point within the next couple of weeks, I would anticipate that the PPA would be presented to the City of Moorhead for approval also. The Joint Powers Agreement, it's been approved by 4 of the 5 now permanent member entities. I would anticipate that the City of Moorhead would approve that on Monday night, and then I would anticipate we will need a organizational meeting on June 23rd, and that should be about 10 minutes prior to calling a regular meeting business, just to get the new authority organized. I'll have a brief memo just outlining the procedure in the next packet, just so we can walk through that step by step. The finance team has been working through the temporary financing issues, and I think the finance committee is going to give you an update regarding some of the temporary finance matters. There's going to be some actions needed regarding temporary financing from both the new Diversion Authority Board, the City of Fargo, and Cass County to affect the temporary financing. The financing team has also been supporting the Ernst & Young advisors regarding the financial presentation that was given a couple weeks ago, in addition to supporting the financial portion of the presentation given at Industry Day. The P3 legal team, as has been noted, the Industry Day occurred on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. It was well attended. We anticipate that a draft RFQ will be ready for the market sometime in mid-July. That is currently under draft, but we're anticipating that would be the release time for the RFQ, with which approximately 6 to 8 weeks to respond to that with statements of qualifications from different industry. I would note that there's a lot of interest in the industry. They seemed very happy with the progress we've made on the project, and felt confident that they could move forward with making proposals in response to the RFQ. I don't have any action items, and I can certainly answer any questions if you might have today, but that's all for my report.
Any questions from the board? Thanks, John. Back to you, Bruce.
We just have one contracting action today, but I will give the brief budget update. Do this every month, give the budget status. So the total yearly budget is $237.5 million. Encumbered and paid to date is the $127.7 million, leaving a remaining budget of $108 million. Today, we're looking at closing to encumber about 1.5 million with a award of a contract, and it's the construction contract award for flood control on the South Street phase 42 F2 in the amount of $1,448,373.17. It's for short section of flood wall, about 600 feet of earth and levee, and some utility installations and modifications. And there were 3 bids received on that. One was non-responsive, and this was the low bid, and we're recommending award of this to Haugen Corp. So just would look for a
I see. It
motion on that.
was 7% lower than,
Engineer, it was lower than the engineer's estimate, yes.
any questions or not, motion?
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments, questions? Not, we'll take the roll.
Mr. Vaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling?
Yes.
Mr. Thorsted?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Otto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
I know next week you're going to have the commission meeting, and Mary Sherling's going to go as well as Mike Williams, and to discuss that we are spending the money. And I think the concern on the state part is, are we consuming it? Because they have other things out there that nobody's spending the money. So you're going to be able to do that and tell them what we've been doing. Sounds like we've been spending the money.
Yeah, it's encumbered, and so the PPA will kick off signing some of that money over to that fund, or drawing from that fund, yeah.
We're also going to be updating them on some of the other actions, the EIS, et cetera.
It's gonna be fun. We're gonna show some pictures along with the numbers. So for you guys, in 2009, we had this huge earth dike that was starting to fail in points, and we've got some good pictures of that. And then we're gonna show them what's going on out here, and it'll be very obvious that we're doing the work.
I only hope you can send a report back where you said, Tim, this was fun, but we'll see how that works.
They tell us it's a lot of fun.
That's right. That's right. We always have fun.
Next is the public outreach, Roger.
Thank you.
You've all got a handout in front of you on this.
And as I look at the outreach report, several of these items have already been mentioned, but just a few highlights. Under the Industry Day, the presentations that were presented are on fmdiversion.com/Industry Day. So if there's any of you that would like to see what went on and weren't able to be there, it's an opportunity. Under the financial plan outreach, the outreach team developed a summary flyer to explain the complexity and the financing plan to each of the stakeholders and the general public. North Dakota Legislative Report, you just heard that Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Sherling will be presenting about the project. And Minnesota Legislative Planning, Diversion Authority has contracted with Frederickson and Byron for assistance in planning of funding requests and other topics related to the Minnesota legislature. Representatives from the Diversion Authority met with Frederickson and Byron on June 2nd to start development of an action plan for future funding requests from the state of Minnesota. And you also heard that there was 4 going to Minnesota, or to Washington, D.C. Chairman Vaniel, Mayor Mahoney, Commissioner Pepcorn, and Councilwoman Otto. And they'll be participating in many meetings and look for some good results. fmdiversion.com update. Activity online and subscriptions to our newsletter have been on the increase, and the open rate has been 47%, which is awesome. Industry average is about half of that, 24%. So there's a lot of interest amongst the general public of what's going on with this project, and probably a lot of them thinking soon before it starts and how soon before it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Tom, any updates?
The Business Task Force had a meeting on the 25th of May where we were presented with the financial plan. So that was the day before the plan was made public. We invited all the Cass County and Clay County legislators, and we were really happy to see all three from Clay County and several from Cass County, and a lot of other interested people were there. Had a lot of good discussion, and it was a good meeting.
Good. Land management, Mary, are you going to take that?
I certainly can. We met yesterday. It's a fairly brief meeting, but we did approve both the action on the Mid-American Steel purchase. We had some good discussion regarding that and moved that forward. And then also some good discussion regarding the mitigation from yes, the mitigation due from the EIS, or the Corps had put together on the severing of some of the oxbows in Richland County and the potential to restore that habitat for aquatic life. So that was an interesting topic for us, and we moved forward and recommended that we pursue that option.
Good afternoon. I'll be referring to two documents, a land management summary, which is our usual monthly report, and also a one-page front and back entitled Diversion Inlet Control Structure Lands Acquisition Update. I'll start with the land management summary. A couple bullets I'll highlight. The first bullet is the right to enter and construct negotiated with Mid-America Steel. It's been in the news this week. The framework deal was approved by Fargo City Commission on Monday, and yesterday Finance Committee and Land Management Committee for the Diversion Authority recommended approval of it to the Cass County Joint Board. It's a three-party deal between Mid-America Steel, City of Fargo, and the Cass County Joint Board. This morning, Cass County Joint Board approved that, so that work can continue as the final negotiations happen to get the purchase agreement for the deal accomplished. Also, I'll highlight the second bullet from the bottom. The rights of entry are being attained, and we're doing survey work on phase 1 of the channel. That'll be lots of parcels on the north end of the channel, and that'll be the next phase of acquisitions that need to happen next year, so we're starting survey work there. I'll call your attention to the other handout, the inlet control structure update. This is similar to what was presented a couple weeks ago at your last meeting with a couple of updates, but just to quickly review that to accommodate the Corps' construction schedule for this fall, we needed 3 parcels to be acquired before they can let the contract for that work. We have we've done appraisals, we've negotiated, we have failed to acquire through negotiation, so a little over a week ago we did take action with the court to acquire those properties so that that construction can continue. In addition, we need another 12 parcels to complete road projects that are associated with that inlet structure. So on the back of the page, there's 2 bullets that are highlighted in red. The first one talks about the action, 3 separate eminent domain actions to get the right-of-way needed for the construction to start. The second bullet talks about the other 12 parcels that will that continue as our next priority to get access, to get the right-of-way needed so that those highway projects can be let this fall. So that'll be the next priority for the land team working for the joint board. That's my report, unless there's questions.
Any questions for Mark? Okay, thank you. Finance, Mike?
Good afternoon. The Finance Committee yesterday worked or reviewed the financial statements, the bills, where the budget is year-to-date, as you just saw up on the screen, and then also where we are at with drawdown funds from the state. We have exhausted the loans that we have with U.S. Bank, so we're working now on drawdown funds from the state and local sales tax monies to fund expenditures. The Finance Committee also reviewed a matrix of 3 different proposals for borrowing some money, one by U.S. Bank, the state's Public Finance Authority, and Wells Fargo. At this time, the options provided by Wells Fargo seem to be the most favorable for the city and county to borrow temporary financing to continue with the ongoing work. The Finance Committee authorized Ken Costin, John Chockley, myself, along with working with Springstead, to work through the requirements with Wells Fargo, and then bring back a firm proposal next month to this board and then also to the city and the county commissions. The city and the county are the ones who actually borrow the funds, and one of the issues is if we're going to be changing banks, well, U.S. Bank has a lien on our tax revenue, so we would have to borrow enough money to pay off U.S. Bank and then borrow the additional monies that we're going to need for ongoing construction. In the past, we've borrowed those in equal amounts, and we'll probably do the same thing. One of us would probably borrow the first $100 million to pay off the loan, and then the other one would borrow monies probably in $50 million blocks to finance the Corps project this year and also our ongoing projects. So. We also reviewed a report provided by the Joint Water Resource District on lots in Oxbow and the amount of funds that are ultimately coming back to the Diversion Authority. As reported from the Land Committee, we also reviewed the acquisition of the diversion portion of the Mid-America Steel acquisition and relocation. We recommended the Joint Water Resource District execute an entry and construction agreement and a purchase agreement for $5.8 million. One of the things we also discussed and included in the motion was to monitor how that project goes forward and whether or not the Diversion Authority should get some monies back when the property is eventually sold. We're recognizing that the city has probably a large liability there, or they're the ones who have the most risk in this because they would be responsible for probably eliminating the buildings and cleaning up anything. So we just wanted to make sure that's monitored. That's pretty much our report. Otherwise, we have the bills to approve. Do want to make one correction on the amount. The amount that the Diversion Authority should approve is $3,888,608.54. We've subtracted off the Ahurst bill because we have an ongoing contract with them, and those normally aren't brought back until that contract is exceeded.
Before we address that, Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wonder if something that maybe we get from land management or get from one of the teams, because there's always been the discussion of when we're going with the project, certain lands might go to the city of Fargo or Cass County or go somewhere. I'm not quite sure where they land. And then our concerns as a commissioner of City of Fargo is if there was a development or somebody came in and bought the land, where does that money go? And I think we should have a frank discussion on policy or what we'd like to do. So for instance, then Mid-America may have to mitigate a lot of environmental concerns, and that way it costs a fair amount of money. So do we get that paid back and then we share the profit? Or, I mean, how do you do that? And that's the same thing. I think Howard Johnson has the same issues in a couple other areas. And we have kind of talked about turning that theoretically over to the governing entity in the area, if it's out in the county to county. but I think we should probably have a discussion with the finance team or land management team about how we should handle that. So just like, here's the rules, here's how we do it, because I knew this came up yesterday in land management. And don't you think that would be something we should just kind of have a philosophy about so we all understand? Because our concern in the city of Fargo as a commission is if the riverfront development starts to come, we may have some people come down and want to pay a fair amount of money for that. And that'd be fun to recover some money from all the stuff we've spent all the time. But I don't know that we have a clear policy.
That's exactly our thought as well, and that was the conversation we had at Land Management, recognizing the fact that, you know, there's certainly a benefit in redeveloping that property to the county and the school district and the city when we get taxes back, depending on what kind of programs are allowed. If you have a pilot that lasts for 100 years, then I guess we're not going to see
Just
it.
20, just 20,
20,
come on.
okay. But 10, okay. But I mean, I think it's very exciting. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to redevelop that and turn it into just a real jewel of something between here and Moorhead. And, you know, I think it's really a win-win for everybody. But you're exactly right. We need to have a discussion on where these funds flow, because we just don't know what the situation is going to be in the future for it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the discussion that went on at the Finance Committee as well. And it was part of the motion to have some feedback on it. You know, I don't think this is anything that, I mean, we realize Fargo's got more money in it. They've got some risk in it, you know, the Diversion Authority doesn't have. But if we can monitor it and come back with a report, then I think it'll go a long ways to say we trust that people understand that, you know, we do want to do that.
Right, so I made that motion, Darrell.
Yeah.
We did have a good discussion about it, but we have, you know, so basically it's a work in progress. We're gonna work it out, figure it out, you know, ahead of time, so we have something in mind when the thing does happen. So, you know, one of the great things too, that's the last piece. I remember in 2006, we had to build this stupid dike through twice. And Byron Dorgan walked me out and said, how many times are we gonna do this, Mike? In the same year, we had to build it twice, and you have to wait till it's flooding to build it. Anyway, after this Mid-America, it's buttoned up to 45 feet. It's as safe as any place in town. This is a great deal. And Mid-America's paying $40,000 in taxes now. They're gonna be paying $400,000 in taxes in their new location. That's a win. So that's a good deal.
The other point, and I believe, doesn't the new JPA address this to a certain degree, John?
Can I just add, while he's coming up, that when you said 100-year pilot, Mike just about had a heart attack.
That is correct. The new JPA addresses a procedure where if property is purchased jointly, that any proceeds that would be realized from the sale of it would be prorated back to the entities that provided the funds. And it also, it provides that the Land Management Committee would work to develop the policy regarding how the sale should be conducted.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good discussion. Now back to, it's, as Mike indicated, it's $3,888,608.54.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? We'll take the roll.
Mr. Bagno?
Yes.
Mrs. Schirling?
Yes.
Mr. Thorsten?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney?
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Otto?
Yes.
Any other business? Yes, Mayor.
Ken Costin, could you please bring our two guests up and just introduce them? Because I think Wells Fargo did a good deal by stepping up and helping us out with our $200 million loan, so.
Yes, diversion members, we've been working on the negotiations with the loan for some time. It seems like it's been about 60 days or more. Wells Fargo has provided the best and most competitive bid in a structure much like the first deal we did. So I wanted to introduce Paul Revholz and Thomas Harkless. And we have an established relationship with Wells Fargo right now as our banking and treasury management services relationship. So we're very pleased that they provided a realistic proposal that will help us get through this next year or so, and with the goal that as soon as all the agreements and all the execution of the documents are signed, we'll eventually work our way towards long-term financing in the form of long-term bonds and the issuance of the P3 contract. So we just want to thank Wells Fargo for their part in that process.
And Mike, they're going to go out to the Rib Fest to see if
So-
this is the happiest city around.
I did a little research while I was on a subject I was aware of already. So we are ranked number 6 for happiest city by Livability magazine. So we got a little ways to go, but we can get to San Luis Obispo. I know we can.
Anything else? Next meeting is June 23rd. And keep in mind, we have a Metro Flood Board meeting immediately after this for North Dakota side. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Meeting of the Metro Flood Board to order. Take roll, please.
I don't know.
Mr. Vano.
Here.
Mrs. Sherling.
Here.
Yeah, we got
Mr.
this
Thorsted.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Dr. Mahoney.
Last time.
Mr. Pepcorn. Mr. Williams.
Here.
We have the minutes from the previous meeting.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financial approvals are on the next page for the board motions. Any, you can take them all.
Yep.
All three of them if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd move to approve all 3.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Mike, second. Questions? Not all in favor, we'll take the roll.
Mr. Vano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Thorsted.
Yes.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Dr. Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Was there any legal, administrative? It's not on here. Other business? If not, June 23rd, next meeting, motion to adjourn?
Move to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn. Just one question. If we are reorganizing next June 23rd, do we still need this meeting?
No.
Yeah.
This, oh,
I'll speak for
clarify.
John Shockley, who's out the hall, but I've talked to him about it. There is going to be a meeting. He'll discuss at that meeting what happens to this group after the reorganization, but he does want one meeting
Okay.
to do that, and then it'll likely go into abeyance
Yeah,
for some
we did.
period of time.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
To adjourn.
Anything else? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.